welcome to the Daily Society. I am your host, Cool Guy, and this is my co-host, Treybach.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our Pride Month special for the Daily Society.
Yes, the Pride Month
We here
special.
at the Daily Society believe that love is love, be it sodomy, pederasty, bestiality. We
DCFT.
we're
I
into
will
all of
drop
it.
You know,
I will drop 300 ICBM to wherever you are, Mr. Trevor.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And speaking of that, you want to introduce our special guest there, cool guy?
of course, I want to introduce our special guest, the legendary man himself, IramHan, very popular in the Paradox Gaming Lounge. One of the most famous people there. And so I will introduce IramHan. He's an Indonesian man, which is why we were playing the Indonesian national anthem, because we couldn't think of anything better to play.
I'll be honest. The Indonesian national anthem actually it's kind of good.
It kind of slaps, though.
Well,
It
yeah,
kind of slaps,
It
though.
kind of
he
slaps, though, yeah.
slaps. It reminds me of that time we genocided and deported all the white people from Indonesia right after we declared independence.
You deported all the white
Yeah, that
people?
was base.
Yeah, well, they are Dutch, so they are like spiritually Jewish, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's
Dutch are
true. You
closer
gotta.
to squirrels than they are to actual white people, so it's fine.
So
It's
was Sukarno based? Is the real question we have to ask.
well, politically he was a dumbass guy, yeah. He's not very clever politically. He has an IQ of 37, but he's very good with a
Right.
woman. Yeah, I think
Mm,
he's the only president to actually did polygamy. And there is this one time the KGB tried to blackmail Sukarno, yeah, telling they have a sex tape of Sukarno, and Sukarno just asked for a copy, and the
uh,
CIA did the same, yeah.
yeah.
Again, Sukarno just asked for a copy, and during his tenure as president, he built this monument, yeah, called Monas, which practically translates to National Monument, or Monument Nasional, we call it. And that and a big stadium, yeah, it plunged our country into like 500% inflation, which is pretty based, yeah, or pretty
That's
stupid,
pretty
but
base. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
pretty.
there is some Sigma grind set there, yeah.
50
Mm,
quintillionaire
Sigma
grandson.
Grappa. I mean, look, all of the very online, politically inclined people, they're all into Franco or maybe if you're on the left side, you're into Tito or something. But I think we really are sleeping on Kuzno Sukarno. He was a real fella, I think.
He was a real fella, yeah. Um, but ultimately, what became his downfall is that he became cringe, yeah.
Mm,
The downfall
many
of
such
man.
cases.
You know,
And
Adam and Eve
well,
fell to the original sin. The original sin was just being cringe. That was fundamentally
yeah,
the original sin. They went from
Mm,
the
but
original state of based to the original cringe.
the state of faith.
Yes.
That's interesting.
yeah, he was never really a communist. He always supported the Communist Party, yeah. And this one time, the CIA and the England people decided to put like a booby trap for the for the communist, and they put the fake letter, yeah, implicating some generals that are actually just pro-government, but the letter implicate that they are going to coup the entire nation, yeah. So the communists with their 300 gigabyte RAM CPU, yeah, they processed this information and decided that, well, this information is genuine enough, so they murdered all of the generals implicated, yeah,
Hmm.
and declared a state of a coup, yeah. They tried to coup the government, but what ended up happening is that they all get genocided. Um,
I see. Such is life in
uh,
Indonesia.
yeah, and Sukarno, like the cock that he was, when when someone tries to coup your government, what you do is like, you kill them, yeah. And what Sukarno did is just, yes, yes, they are wrong, yeah, they are wrong, but they are communists, they are good. Please just give them another chance. And the people was like, you are cringe, incel. Um, and he forcefully he finally stepped down after nobody supports him anymore. There was a bit of genocide, about 800,000 to 3.5 million, I think, was the casualty. Around that number, yeah.
Hmm. So just a small genocide, not a big one. It was pretty solid. I'd say it's a pretty. I mean, 3.5 million is pretty good. If you obviously you
Right.
can't get the high score, but
Yeah, that would be great if
that's
all of them are
probably like
communists.
top 10, I'd say.
I mean, here's the thing: you really can't get bigger than 200,000. So,
It's really difficult to get bigger than 200,000. Yeah.
and so, I'd
But
say
yeah,
that's a pretty good kill streak.
Yeah, pretty good
yeah, it
KD.
happened
Yeah.
about like several months of murder, rape, genocide, and all of those stuff. And the chaos was pretty big, yeah. And it became the paranoia became so big. It's kind of like like the 30 Years War, the witch hunts that happened there. A simple accusation can kill you. So say like you are a neighbor and you see like your neighbor have two houses, have three cars, lot of children, yeah. And you just tell your other neighbors, hey, this neighbor of mine communist. So
Hmm.
what do you do? Well, they would murder your neighbor, his wife, his children, his relatives too. Um, they will find the relatives, and you would get the house, you would get the cars, and this often happens. So not even if you are not communist, but say you have enemies, you can simply be accused of communism.
Yep, I remember Lucius Quintilis Sulla did the exact same thing. Basically, if you were a member of the Populares faction or rumored to be a member of the Populares faction, or if you just were more wealthy than your neighbor was, uh, the neighbor could just say, "Oh, this guy's a member of the Populares faction," and then you would be either exiled or like killed, and then all of your property would be seized and given to your neighbor and stuff. And that just kind of happened, and Sula managed to like prolong his reign for a really long time because he did that. Because that did get rid of all of his enemies, got rid of a lot of innocent people too. But such is life. You need to do that in order to maintain power sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of times the stigma sticks to their descendants. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So say you have like a nephew, and then the nephew got a son, and the nephew has a relative, yeah, that is a communist.
Mm.
The nephew got stigmatized, and the son got stigmatized, and everyone down the line got stigmatized. For a while, communists are like the black people of Indonesia.
I see.
Uh,
Mmm,
just
Mm.
just kind of like a second class, yeah. Um,
that's awful.
Luckily, they're no longer the
How
second
bad.
class.
Speaking speaking of black people, Mr. Iram, how are the Juneteenth celebrations in Indonesia?
well, we don't really exactly like black people. Um,
Mmm,
we
Mm.
are ambivalent about them. Uh, Sometimes they keep to themselves, yeah. There is this one guy in the gym that I went to, and he keeps to himself. Like he records, he's the only guy who records himself doing exercise, but mostly he keeps to himself, so there's no problem. But I think it was a year or some years ago. Um,
So
it's
you guys have a gym there. That's cool. I
I
didn't know
mean,
you guys had gyms.
yeah, there's this black woman, yeah, living in Bali. And as I remember, it happened was that the black woman moved to Bali with her girlfriend, yeah, and worked there. And but she does not have a visa to work, yeah. So what happened was she shared her experience, and these kind of things, yeah, like black people move to Indonesia, doesn't have work visa but works anywhere to get like cheap housing, because like housing here is cheaper than in say California. Housing is cheaper here, food is cheaper here, everything is cheaper here. Um, so it's really a premium if you can move to from like America to somewhere even like Bali or Papua, because living is very cheap. You can live like a royalty if you move here. And yeah, that's one of the problem they made, because they made an entire book about it.
Hmm. Interesting.
So there are a lot of black people moving from the United States to Indonesia.
Not really that many, yeah. Like it's really like a lot of different nationalities. Some Chinese, Russians,
Mm.
Romanians, some black people, some Ethiopian. I met an Ethiopian once. Um, there is let's see what else. Some Anglos and Australians. Uh, yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, there is a lot of people that move to Indonesia, so not just black people. And even if it's black people, there's no telling if they are from Great Britain or America or some other Asian countries I wouldn't mention.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Right, right.
Interesting. So
Well,
let's move on.
I'm trying to imagine a gym in Indonesia. So like you're standing in the swamp
Yeah.
and you have like a bamboo stick with like rocks tied to it.
Yeah, that's
No,
probably
no,
it.
no,
You take a
no.
giant
Our
rock.
gyms are okay. Our gyms are normal looking.
Do you have shopping malls in Indonesia? Just curious.
Yes, yes.
Are there
In
escalators to
most,
like
yes,
Oh, wow. Okay.
we are not. Uh, we are not as backward as you think we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, in cities that are big enough, you will see malls. Although in some cities you don't have malls, and well, that's a blessing. That's a curse. It really depends on the person. Yeah.
So, America
Mm.
is losing its malls because the people,
Because they're all going to Indonesia.
yeah, they're all going to Indonesia. All of our jobs are going to Mexico, and all of our malls are going to Indonesia. Little known fact.
Mm.
Little known
There
fact.
goes
Who knew
Kmart.
this?
The malls here are kind of dying, to be honest, because of COVID and stuff.
Hmm.
Mm.
Let's move on from the country and the culture of Indonesia and the history of Indonesia and talk more about the religions of Indonesia. So I know that
Yeah.
there are a lot of Muslims in Indonesia. So I know that you're Muslim, supposedly, allegedly, but you're actually Orthodox secretly.
Mm-hmm.
So could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I was. It was like when I was 10. Well, no, no, it was actually ninth grade. Yeah, I finished school, and at the time I was like the biggest kumar in my school. Yeah, and my school is small. It's like 40 students, but I was like the biggest kumar, second to my other friend. But he's repented also. Um, and I was at the time I left Islam because I watched those atheist YouTube video, yeah, the atheist YouTube channel, like
Yeah, yeah.
what's clog on head or clog on anus, yeah, shoe on head or
I know
something,
what you're talking about, but I know the atheist YouTube phenomenon that happens.
yeah. And who's that fat man, yeah, the with the scrawny with the messed up beard,
Oh, the
uh
amazing
The
atheist.
amazing atheist, yeah.
yeah, the amazing atheist, yeah, him. And computing forever, but God, praise be to God, computing forever he repented. Um, but it was a downhill point for me, yeah. And wait, sorry, sorry, sorry about that. I was farting, but continuing my point. Um, but it was
Go
downhill
on.
from it. I was cooming constantly, and I was watching atheist YouTube. And what do you expect? I was still in seventh grade at that time. I left Islam because I think, well, I am a big Coomer and Islam won't accept me. I'm just gonna be a Coomer, and that is cringe.
Very
But
cringe.
well, I became an agnostic, yeah, at the very ripe age of 8. And don't do this. If you are eighth grade and you are already thinking about this, stop, stop. Um, don't. This is too big for you.
Right.
Trust me. Do it
Special
later.
word to our eighth grader audience.
Yeah. Special advice to
Do
the
it.
eighth grader audience who might be tuning into our Catholic podcast. Don't do it. Don't
Right.
do it.
Eighth grade? No, later. Stay away from porn. Stay away from any philosophical discussion. You are
Yeah.
not going to understand anything.
Your
I
brains are
bought
too
this
small.
Base.
because at that time I thought my brain was as big as London, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
bought this
Right.
book. I bought Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, and to this day I haven't finished it because I didn't understand a single thing that is in the book.
Base.
and and now that I can kind of understand it, I'm busy reading other books. I really like now epistemology. I and since I major in sociology, yeah, so I bought some books by Derrida and some about the Frankfurt Schule. Um, and it's been a good read, yeah. Actually, when you are more adult, you understand better. Um, and reading is no longer something that is really heavy for me. It's actually become an enjoyment. Um,
So
but
you're
yeah,
saying that you work out at the library?
Mm.
you can say
Base.
that, yeah. But uh, well, it's not really like being agnostic. Yeah, it's not really something that you can dwell on for very long. Um, it doesn't really solve a lot of questions. So I turned from agnosticism to deism to pantheism, and then I think to Judaism. Uh, and that was
Mm.
the time I was really into like Hitler and Israel. I
Okay.
was I was in like some sort of like like Japan have their own national socialist movement, yeah, the Taisei Yokusankai.
Yes.
Um, and there is this weeb, yeah. He's like half Dutch, half I don't know. He's a mutt, but um, he can speak Japanese, yeah. And he started thinking that you can resurrect this Japanese fascism, yeah.
Mhm.
And right at the time, I'm starting to become Jewish. I download the app Safari. I started reading the Talmud a bit, um, and started learning Hebrew. Was the moment where I became a fascist. Yeah, and there is this time, yeah, where us losers meet um, at a mall, and they are wearing like like Feldmütze and Feldmütze with a Totenkopf on it, with the death head insignia on it, and they
Yes.
were wearing overcoat.
Bruh.
Literally on the mall, they look like the biggest loser in the mall, but they are not the biggest loser because I was the biggest loser. I wore a fedora on the mall.
So
Mm.
true. So true. Well, at least you're self-aware now. I mean, that's more than I could
You
say
are
about a lot of people.
you're going to be only aware of it when you got out of it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, uh, then slowly, my mom takes me to eat what do you call it, shrimps, and I know shrimp is forbidden, and I was like, oh no, I have to eat shrimps now. But I don't really have an excuse because if I told my mom face to face, like, Mom, I'm Jewish now, I can't eat shrimp, I would be sent straight to madrasa.
Mm.
Um,
I don't know where
Mm.
madrasa is, so
Madrasa is Islamic school. It's an Islamic boarding school, basically.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Right.
but because I was still a like small brain man, yeah, at the time, I just started, I'm not going to do it anymore. The cringiest part was when I was becoming pagan, becoming Greek pagan, singing praises to like Greek gods
Why?
and
That
goddesses.
doesn't make sense.
I
Why
don't
would
know
you
why.
praise the Greek gods? You're okay. I don't know.
I
I
don't
feel
know
like
why.
I would be an Indonesian pagan if I was gonna be from Indonesia and also a pagan. But yeah, that is pretty cringe.
Well, the
That is
Indonesian.
really.
What even is the Indonesian pantheon? It's probably kind of boring.
Mm,
It's not Indo-European enough for me.
no,
I don't know. What is it like?
it's
Fertility
mixed.
goddess?
Yeah.
Well, not nowadays. There is not really like a concrete paganismus anymore. Most of like the folk religions now are actually monotheists.
Mm-hmm.
So you have what you call is kejawen, which means Javanness, which is like the folk religion of the Javan people. Although calling it quote unquote folk religion, I wouldn't really call it that because a lot of like Muslims are also kejawens. You have Christian kejawens, you have Buddhist kejawens. Um, but in my opinion, all of these are like syncretistic attempts. These are syncretisms. That's why I just stay away from it. And besides, it's ethnic. What place do I have? I'm not even Javanese. And then you have something called I forgot, but it's like some folk religion up there in Sumatra. And then you have Sunda Wiwitan, which is also monotheistic. And they're like you can call it like folk religion Amish because they reject technology. Yeah, they are like isolationists, like, and they are older than the Amish. So like, you see the Amish, you think of like the 17th century. You see like the Wiwitan niggas, the Badui people that adhere to it. The Baduis are divided into two, called the inner and outer Badui. The outer Badui can still communicate with people, can still see technology, but they don't use it. But the inner Badui, usually you are restricted from bringing any technology inside the inner Badui village. And they are from like the 15th century. They stayed that way. And yeah, after a bit of like a pagan period, yeah, I went actually to Gnosticism. I understand why I went to Gnosticism. Um, and it is the same as any fringe religion, yeah. But Gnosticism has a special appeal of being very quote unquote philosophical, so you can feel smart, when you adhere to it.
Yeah, very
And
esoteric and stuff.
Right.
I call it the secret CIA document religion, um,
That's
because
yeah.
it was
As
at
you
ninth
do.
grade.
That fits pretty
It
well
was
actually
yeah.
with Gnosticism as far as
Uh,
I know it.
it was about at ninth grade, yeah. So my brain developed later, but it still stunted from 3 years of constant grooming. But I started reading Gnostic literature and started, I was thinking, oh, this is pretty based, yeah. And but at the time, yeah, I have this, mm, I have this group, yeah, like a Christian group by a
Yeah.
pretty famous person in some social media in Indonesia, yeah.
Hmm.
He's formerly homo and atheist. Now he's a Protestant. Um, but we are in his group, yeah. He's like a non-confessional Lutheran. So he doesn't use like the Book of Concord. But this nigga is basically the guy who introduces me to like Christianity. And one day he just says, "Yeah, the Bible is very reliable because it's written like decades after the event happened, compared to say Alexander the Great or other figures of antiquity whose biographies are written sometimes centuries after it happened. Wait, sorry. Um, and I was still having, I still have a small brain, yeah. But I just say, okay, I'm thinking about it. And what I say when I think about it, I sit for 5 minutes and think, that's true, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, okay, I'm gonna be a Christian. Start looking for, which church do I think I would belong to, yeah. And so what happened was, I barely know anything about Christianity. I just know that there are Orthodox with purple crosses, there are Catholics, and all of those are from extra credit videos and from Crusader Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started, Orthodox might be pretty cool. And this is still with the same mindset, yeah, of, being fringe, being like, because Orthodoxy is quite new to Indonesia. The first mission started at about the 80s.
Mm.
And, I went to an Orthodox church. And the Orthodox church near my place was actually only like 2 minutes from my school. So I would pretend I would go to school or to my friend's house, and go there.
Mm.
And I would have like a soy jack face, uh, at the first. It's not even a liturgy because the priest was out collecting funds from overseas, but I was completely soy jacking over the service,
Mm.
over the Tipika, and I was like, all right, yeah, sure. And and you know what happened to converts, yeah? You have like some convert fever.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that, but at the time I don't really have Twitter, yeah. So like my convert fever are mostly kept within myself, and
That's good.
uh, it died down a bit. It actually died down when I first got found out. I got found out. Yeah, I have this girlfriend of mine, but we were not really the healthiest couple. Yeah, kind of, it's leftover from horny days, and I think to myself, Christians cannot be horny, yeah. Yeah, and I just called her and just say, yeah, sorry, I think I dated you for the wrong reasons. Goodbye. It's not like that, but in essence, it's like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it takes more than that to restore yourself from Kumarismus. Um, but around the time, I think it was 2018 or 2009. I think it was 2018, yeah, about early to middle 2018. I was coming home from school, yeah, and my mom asked me, Iram, did you convert to Christianity? And and she said, oh, this my friends told me that you converted, and I was like a little brainlet, yeah. I don't really want to lie, so I just said yes. Um, and everything went down,
Mm-hmm.
and I only discovered, yeah, 3 years later, what happened. Uh, because all I know is my mom giving me her phone and telling me to watch 3 lectures, each like 1 hour long, about Muslim clerics trying to quote unquote debunk Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very bad debunking, yeah. So you don't really need to watch them. Um, but that happened,
Yeah, the
and
debunkers.
yeah, and my father came home, yeah, a bit late in the night, and my mom notified this to him. And my father is kind of like a different. He's a convert, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but actually the reason he became devout, because at first it was just to marry my mom, but the reason he became devout was that, this is what he said. I was 3 years old, yeah, and he was picking me up from my relative's house. We used to live like really close together, and he saw me praying. The Islam prayer. He saw me doing that, and according to him, he cried and he became devout Muslims afterward. Um,
Right.
Yeah.
but even until that point, he can't really read the Quran, yeah, because he's not really used to it, and I understand that. But basically, what happened was my mom notified my father. My father said, "Yeah, just kick him," uh, and my mother said, "No, we should bring him to a cleric and free back and forth." And I said, "I know I'm not going to convert." The next day, instead of going to school, I was actually transport. I was actually my mom drove me to some mosque where a cleric would ask me what happened, why do you convert and stuff and like that. But for some reason, I don't know if this is providence or something. The cleric that was supposed to meet me was sick. He couldn't meet me at that time. Um, and really, that event actually changed my family for. I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse, but it changed my family. One thing that I notice is that my parents are really they are now really insecure. Yeah,
Mm.
felt in raising me, and if I am them, if I am in their position, I will probably feel the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they felt that they never did enough. They are always anxious about me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
rightfully
Right.
so. Rightfully so. Um,
So you converted to Orthodox Christianity,
mhm,
and your father himself was a convert to Islam.
mhm.
What did he convert from?
Actually, I don't know. um,
Mm,
my father's family likes to jump from one religion to another. Uh, he um he boasted about it, like, "Oh, I know, I learned about many religions, son," uh, and stuff like that. And but I think my father was Buddhist because now the extended family from my father, my paternal family, is Buddhist. So I think at the time before he converted to Islam, my father was Buddhist or something. Um,
right.
I see.
but yeah, he became devout after that, and he became even more devout. I think he realized, yeah, if you want to raise your children in faith, you have to be a good example of it. It is very unfortunate that my father wasn't really good example of Muslims. Um,
Mm.
but after he found out for the first time, he actually tried to be like I would. He would remind us to pray the daily prayers during work. Like he would just send us a message on WhatsApp. Hey guys, don't forget to pray, and some things like that. He actually, like the first month he found out my conversion. He invited a cleric so that he can actually read the Quran. And even though now he can still barely read the Quran, he can actually read it. So that's an improvement. And other things he do. Um, Now he never misses his daily prayer and all of those stuff.
Because you didn't have internet access, so you weren't like one of these like Twitter people who they become like they're like they're a Nordic pagan one week, and the week before they were like Georgian Orthodox, and
Oh,
the week
those.
before they were like you know
Mhm.
Ibadis or
Milanese Rite Catholic or
yeah,
something.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, white
Yeah.
Islamist,
White
you know,
Islamists. Yeah.
because Muhammad was an Aryan.
Yeah, Muhammad was.
Yeah, but
So
those religion hopping phase was before I actually got Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter is
It go-
Twitter would mess you up, especially if you were a very impressionable child who was like, which I'm
Yeah.
sure most people who discover Twitter are like, 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was in a Discord call the other day with some like major like Protestant on Discord or whatever, and these are the people who have like the anime profile
the anime
pictures and everything,
imagery, yeah.
and they're
Mm,
they're like essay posting on Twitter, and it has to be in like five different things because Twitter only lets you use so many characters. And
mm.
he was like, I'm not gonna name names, but he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go do LSD in Scotland. It's like, bro,
Yeah, and it's like, here, let me write my Twitter thread on Protestant Christianity, and then
right,
it gets like 3 likes total anyway, and then they go and
right,
do
yeah.
drugs. Yeah,
hmm
this is the
So
average tweeter.
I mean, that's the thing. Twitter is just a cesspool, and it doesn't matter like what your niche is, what you do on Twitter. If you're like, if you're into Catholicism, or you're into like, I don't know, politics in general, it doesn't matter, okay? Because if you're using Twitter like that, you're definitely like 300 pounds and probably a transsexual. I'm just gonna say it. So I mean,
Uh,
you know,
I used to have Twitter, yeah, but then I got banned 3 times, which is really funny, but unfortunate.
What'd you get banned for?
The first one, I think I was calling someone a retard fagot.
Based. Okay.
Second one, I think I was calling people a nigger retard.
based.
And the third one actually was, yeah, I think it was fagot or something along those lines. I think called people some gypsy or Albanian.
Based.
Um, and my account got
Calling
restricted,
someone an
yeah.
Albanian. Yeah, well, here's the thing. We at the Daily Society disavow all of this. This
Yeah.
is Mr. Iram does not represent the views of the Daily Society. We are interviewing a harmful
Yeah.
extremist.
This is like
And I
when
mean,
Vice
look,
goes and interviews Kim Jong Un or something like that. Like this is
right, yeah.
basically what we're doing right now. We
I mean,
disavow
here's the
everybody.
thing. I'm willing to die to bring gay marriage to Indonesia. So
Yeah. Same here.
No.
I mean, this is
Mm,
what you have to look forward to. Okay, I am going to bring Globo Homo to your island.
I'm gonna
Okay,
be
you
glitter
are
bombing your country. Just letting you know.
you
it's
are
gonna be.
already glitter bombing my country, you retard.
Oh well,
Does
you gotta do what you gotta do.
does the American embassy have like the pride flag with the
No,
triangle flying out yet? No,
or
not yet.
well, fortunately,
The
there is like
crime.
some populist organization that would happily riot if this happened.
I see. See, we don't have that going on here. Unfortunately, we don't have I guess we just don't have enough Muslims who are ready to choke slam any like gay person who comes out. So
Yeah.
we'll be ready for it. Um
Mm,
no, we're undergoing the same problems here in America. Unfortunately, the the international American apparatus is full globo homo. Like we are the ones driving everything, and that's something that I guess you have to remember. Um,
yeah.
the people back home, we're not all like that. I mean, definitely some people are like that. Western
Mm,
countries in general are just like that, but it is how it is. It is how it is.
yeah.
Um, where was I going with that? Oh, uh, let's talk about witchcraft. Now that we have
Oh,
like an
yeah.
actual Indonesian who does experience witchcraft, like real witchcraft, not TikTok witches. Let's uh let's transition over to that one, and we can talk about that for a little bit. What are your experiences with witch doctors, Iram?
Mm, I usually get stories, yeah. Stories either from my relatives or from who directly experience it, or from my friends. Um, I get this one from my relative. She was going to work, yeah, but her legs became so heavy. So she called, like, she was like 10 feet away from her house, and she called my other relative to escort her back home because her leg is so heavy. Um, and they tried to go to doctor before, and doctor said, yeah, there's nothing here. and they went home, and my other relative called a medicine man, yeah, and a medicine man comes. A medicine man, or whichever you want to, the term you want to use, but let's use medicine man because this time he's the one lifting the curse.
Yes.
So the medicine man, yeah, did some spells, some incantations, and rubbed his hands to my relative's kneecaps. And after he rubbed it, nails started coming out, and nail and hairs started coming out from the kneecap. Um, and everyone was like really scared, yeah. And the medicine man said that it's like a hair of dead people. Well, that's one. And then there is this one where there's another relative of mine, and this other relative, he was like doing some assignments in his house, yeah, and he got a mysterious chill down his spine, and basically like he was being disturbed by this spirit, and he just said like, if you keep on disturbing me, I'm going to actually fight you, nigger. Um, and the spirit just disappeared after that. That was one of the better ones. He doesn't get curse or anything. And there's this one actually that actually I actually experienced it for real. So my friend, yeah, was cleaning the house. He's Catholic. And he's when he's cleaning, yeah, he found a talisman hidden inside a cabinet. Oh no, it's not inside cabinet. Inside a drawer. Um, he just asked me what to do, yeah, and I just said, yeah, you just burn it. And this talisman is probably decades old because like it's never moved anywhere. But yeah, that's what I experienced so far. There are a lot more stories about it. Like that time, there is a race riot in Borneo, and a lot of stories about witchcraft was mentioned, like flying swords and people decapitating people without even lifting their hands.
That's
But
actually
yeah,
so. I'm gonna have to be the Anglo here, and I'm gonna say source. Can I get a source for that? Can I get a source for this?
uh, myself, my relatives, folk stories, my mom.
Can you put that in MLA format or?
Shut up. I'm not going to put that in APA 7th edition format. That's for sociology articles.
Yeah. No, that's funny. No, this is actually pretty cool because it's not something that we experience in America all that much. I mean, unless you go to the
Yeah,
local.
we.
Oh yeah, we do, but like, it's not something that was happening every day. Now it is starting to happen every day because
Mm,
the younger generation, especially, is turning to like straight up demonic witchcraft and just like worshiping
mm.
Satan and stuff like
Oh,
that.
that's true. That's
So
true.
Well,
now it's
this is
Because
the
I can
the devil
imagine.
can't offend the American sensibilities with witchcraft, right?
Yeah.
so.
And we have the whole sale. So he just does like irreligion and scientism and whatever. But the thing is, we had the whole Salem witch trials thing, where Protestants ruined it for everybody because there were real witches at Salem. That one Caribbean lady or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't know
Mm,
what the hell was going on, so they ruined it. And then for the next, 400 years, everybody on the North American continent is a gay little scientist with their microscope
Yeah.
and their
mm.
And their vaccines censored.
vaccines
Yeah.
and their book of citations.
Exactly.
Well, personally, I think a lot of those stories may be fake. But the thing about witchcraft, yeah, you don't really need to pay attention to people who publicly say, "Oh yeah, I worship this nigga or I worship this nigga god to get this god or this charm," because um, most of the time the magic they do would only harm themselves, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people uh, who do it clandestinely, who do it not publicly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, for example, here witches are not very visible, but if you just type like dukun, which is our term for witches, um, or orang pintar, literally translated to smart man or wise man, um, you can get like 7 results on Google Map.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And
So you just gotta go and type it into Google Maps, and there's your witch doctor. You know.
yeah, and like if you go to like there's an equivalent of Amazon here called Tokopedia and Bukalapak, two very big websites in Indonesia, really for internet shopping. And if you type, I don't know, Azimat or Chris, you would uh, it's really easy to buy talismans or to buy compendium of witchcraft books. The real evil magic usually are not really worked in the public, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, they usually do it in secret. Um, so say in America you have the Temple of Set, um, where the founder doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Or well, the Freemasons are kind of like a short term now, but they're still clandestine in a way. So you have a mix of being visible enough that people know them, but not visible enough for people to actually know what they're actually doing.
I see. Gotcha.
Or
So
even like
just
witches here are not onto some big agenda. No, they are for money usually. You pay them to bring, to transport, to give someone a course or give someone charm or
mm,
to lift yourself of a charm.
I see. I mean, I can't imagine dabbling with that stuff is safe for you spiritually. I feel like, I mean, even if you're really good at it, you'll still probably come out with like a curse that'll send you to hell or something like that. But
I,
but I guess it's
yeah,
like economics. You have a good and a service. You have a service that you can give to people, and there's demand for it. People will do it.
yeah. I think
Interesting.
if you're good at it, it's just a sign that you're for sure going to hell.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But
Yeah, so that's all I have to talk about. Trevor, do you have any questions to ask?
No, not really.
Well, thank you, Aram. We really
oh
appreciated.
yeah,
Yeah, we really appreciated this. Do you have any social media to link? Do you have anything that you want to plug, or is that good?
not really. At the moment, I don't really have a lot of social medias. Um, so yeah, go ahead.
Can can we
Okay.
get your gamer tag so we can
Oh
all play
yeah, it's
CIQ together?
my Steam. Yeah, Erdogan fanbase 1453.
Erdogan fan base
Erdogan fan base.
1453. No,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
best.
that is my
that's
Steam.
pretty based. Okay.
That's best.
All right. That we'll wrap this up then. This has been a really interesting one. Hopefully we can get more interesting people from Paradox Gaming Lounge if they're interested. Um,
All right.
so yeah, thank you, Iram.